Hi, welcome to Watcher DM. I'm Gabriel, and today I am doing a flip through and review of a game that recently came out from a creator called The Lone Legend. The game is called Gloam, and it is a fantasy tarot tabletop role playing game. As a huge fan of tarot, I was really excited to see this game come out. Love the character sheet on the back here, although not very usable. It's, I think, still extremely beautiful and very evocative. I think it's great. And of course, the art rendered of the tower for the cover is fantastic. It's very evocative of the actual tarot art. There's some credits here for playtesting that you're going to recognize a lot of creators that are pretty amazing. I'm not going to go through that whole list. The design, writing, and illustration was by Sam Helms, proofreading by Sean F. Smith, and tarot illustrations by Pamela Coleman Smith, which I believe is the. Yeah, actually, I'm not going to say. I'm not sure who that is, but that's awesome. And the character sheet was by Silver Nightingale, was another creator in our space. The layout and structure of the book is fairly intuitive. You get Welcome to Gloam, how to play the cards and how they work, tests, that's the really straightforward stuff. Creating a character goes into Lifepath stats, a vocation, talents, and then you get your actual vocations listed here. So Herald, Knight Errant, Mystic, and Cutpurse. You establish some goals, instincts, friend and foe equipment. Talks about combat and wounds, how resolve is used, resting, advancement, and then into alchemy, folk magic, arcane magic, dungeon and adventure sites. So after 40, you're basically getting into how to generate DM content for this game. And then, you got generating maps, event deck, monsters, time and downtime, carousing, hirelings, folks you might meet on the road, oracles, and then it goes into some magic items. Now, when I first picked this up, I was expecting something new, and having just run His Majesty the Worm, I was like, oh, great, somebody else tried to do this, because I was a little put off by my experience with His Majesty the Worm. I think it's an incredibly beautiful game, and it definitely has something to offer for somebody, but it just wasn't going to work for me. And so I was excited to see somebody take another crack at this nut. But it turns out that Gloam is effectively His Majesty the Worm with some of the stuff ripped out. And so I think I really like it. I like what has been ripped out. I think that it is better for having removed some of the kind of phase mechanics and really structural stuff. Of course, the how to play is pretty much how you would play any role playing game. So if you're familiar with role playing games, you're going to be unsurprised with all that. And it uses the same exact structure in terms of the player deck and the referee deck. Although I believe there is something about, I believe the GM also draws from the player deck when doing monster challenges. So the GM deck is, I think, only used for generating content. Tests are the same as in His Majesty the Worm. You are trying to beat a 14, drawing a card plus your stat. So that means any 10 or higher that you draw is going to be an immediate success, and you can push, which allows you to draw a second card. So success is relatively common, but it is entirely possible to fail, and if you fail after pushing, it is a great failure, and so on. You can aid someone else's test. I'm pretty sure you add the relevant stat to the total. So you don't even draw any additional cards. You just kind of double up on the stats, which I think means you pretty much always want to help each other if your objective is to win. Although I think the objective of this game is probably to have fun, kind of, buying into the narrative that's going on and kind of buying into the moment. The character creation tackles, I think, some of my favorite stuff in this system, so I want to spend a little bit of time here. The Lifepath stuff is awesome. You draw some cards, and you basically just end up with associated life path events on the thing. So, like, you draw a card from the player's deck. The suit represents the socio-political setting you were born into and your core childhood memory, and the value of the card. Add the value of the card to your age. So you use this to kind of accumulate age. Is how this is set up. And then, but you can like add cards to your life path until you want to, and it says here you can never undo the past. So once you've committed to drawing a card, your character is kind of messed up that way for life, which I love. And then yeah, you just look for possible points of connection. Now, I'm gonna say this right here is exactly where the deviation from His Majesty the Worm kind of I feel is best. His Majesty the Worm is very prescriptive about bonds with other PCs. It's very prescriptive about creating your characters together, and tying those PCs together via those bonds and motifs. Whereas this feels very much more, it feels more like you're discovering a character through card drawing, which is fun. And then, yeah, you get some interesting little bits of history that you can then use to tie your PCs together. Instead of asking your PCs to kind of come up with stuff whole cloth to tie together. I feel like this is just more my style, and I had a really fun time making my character for this. I've played this, by the way. I have not run it. I've played it once. I'm very much looking forward to running it. So you've got your stats here. This is exactly what you would expect it to be. It's the same as His Majesty the Worm. Your vocations are just the outline of the 4 paths, as they're called in His Majesty the Worm, with some mild deviations. So Cups is the Herald, which I think is really cool. That kind of makes it like a bard or like a public speaker, a negotiator, kind of the face of the party. And there's no such thing as like a priest in this. There isn't like a healer per se. And I like that they kind of just out that. They're like, yes, the herald is what the cups are, the cut purse is what the coins are. I think in His Majesty the Worm, there was a bit more like the cut purse also has some kind of finagling abilities, is more like a bard, and the cups very much felt more like a healer. Knight Errant, of course, is your fighting man, and then Mystic is, of course, your, it's everything. It's your folk magic person, your healer, witches, herbalists, all that. Talents. So you start with a talent based on your class, and you activate them by spending 1 resolve. And then you need to earn new talents by by questing and overcoming challenges and spending XP to buy new talents. This is not dissimilar to His Majesty the Worm. It's also slightly different, so... but we'll get into that. And then activating talents, you can perform talents as long as you have resolve to spend. So activating 1 talent costs 1 resolve. Some talents give you the option to spend more resolve to increase potency. And then solo play talents, you start with 1 extra talent from any vocation. So this is your default talent, and then these are your talents that you can accumulate for each of the classes. So Herald, honestly, these talents are about on par with what you would expect. They're interesting enough. They're like, I think they're evocative. They kind of do the thing that they need to do. Yeah, I don't know. Not too much to say about them. I do love the art on these, though. I think these little guys are just fantastic, and like reproducing the lizard robes from the King of Staffs is just the King of Wands is amazing. Actually super stoked about all of these. So you get the the vineyard motifs from the coins. Like all of their outfits are very well done. Really, really great. Goals. So you establish some goals for your character. They should be relatively small and kind of achievable. And yeah, I think that's about it. Like I think you adjust your goals as you go. So as you achieve goals, you get new goals. Instincts or habits your character has, so you won't be changing your instincts very often. But they're great. Actually, this is, I think, a really, really cool way of doing this, where you basically establish up front, like, I always run to help people. Like, if I hear someone in danger, I always run to their aid. These are like truths about your character that can really help roleplay, right? Because you just have you have a mechanical justification for kind of always diving in and doing this thing that is probably not going to be to your benefit all the time, but sometimes may be, and it will show who you are, which I think is what the point is sometimes. You get a friend and a foe, so you get some kind of NPCs that you create, and they tie into your character. And then equipment, you don't really track individual coins. You make coins tests when you want to buy something, which that's stonking cool. I like that a lot better than the system in His Majesty the Worm. So dope, really, really great. And then, yeah, just a breakdown of weapons and armor and how those work. Here's your basic stuff. There's modifiers to the coins test for buying things, so that's how they adjust you know, the expensive, the priciness of items. And then for weapons, you have to have swords of a certain amount to wield certain weapons, and same thing with armor. So if your swords isn't high enough, you're wearing lesser armor. Called shots is a thing in this game, and we'll get to that. These are trade goods, which of course you can use like you would any items. And yeah, it's just a coin test modifier. Combat. So this again is basically the His Majesty the Worm rules. The only difference is you don't have to have a certain card to take a certain action. So in His Majesty the Worm, you have to have a swords card to make a swords test during the challenge phase to attack. In this, any card will do. I think if you have a swords card and you attack and you succeed at hitting, that does an extra wound of damage. So it's very similar system, but it does have kind of less stuff going on. You don't have to do as much to kind of, like, honestly, the list of actions that a PC can take in His Majesty the Worm is really off-putting. This list is way more approachable. And then you also get responses, so there's kind of reactions in this game, which I think works well to the type of game that it is. And then wounds fall to body parts. So you end up with kind of getting hit in different parts of your body, and once they have been hit, the different effects take hold of you. And once you're completely wounded, you're pretty much cooked. This basically handles the staggered, injured, and death's door, and like wounding a talent and wounding armor. Like the complexity of how you actually handle wounds in His Majesty the Worm is very discouraging. It's difficult to understand how much work you have to do when you get hit. This feels a little more intuitive to me. Resolve is something you're going to be spending to obviously activate your talents. Increase the results of a test by 1 for every point of resolve spent. And you can activate an item that requires spending resolve. So it's good for magic items and stuff. And then you get resting, pretty straightforward. Advancement, this right here is everything you need to know about why I prefer this game. This whole zine is 60 pages. And it comes with magic items. There's not even any magic items in His Majesty the Worm. So this is better. To me, this is better. I could read this in an afternoon and be good to go. So gaining XP, you gain them per session based on what happened. There's none of this. You have to, do the guild's contract quest and this and that, or complete somebody's, contract, or do like, accept contracts. There's like so many weird things in His Majesty the Worm about how you get XP. This just seems way more intuitive. And then you can spend 5 XP to get your next talent. And you can spend 10 XP to get one from a different vocation, so you can kind of multi-class. And yeah, what do you know? You can also increase your stats by spending XP. So you can just kind of level up your character. Like, there's advancement, and it's kind of reasonable. It's not, you have to spend it, like, yeah. It's just really good. I think it's really, really good. Alchemy. I think alchemy and magic in this game are not that dissimilar from His Majesty the Worm, with possible exception that they provide even less guidance here. In this case, I'm not really going to fault that. I don't think the alchemy in His Majesty the Worm is tremendously usable. I don't think this does much to hurt that. It's not really doing anything to help it either. But, figure it out. Like, it's like you can make a brew from any monster with a signature ability. Negotiate that with your GM, because that's what's happening here. Your referee's basically going to say, yeah, that's too powerful, or no. Whatever. Folk Magick. This is actually really, really clever. In fact, I like this a lot. So when you perform Folk Magick, you're trying to determine the goal. You're using a charm and you're making a test. So the charms are like doing normal stuff. This isn't really like a unified system. It's just kind of a collection of traditions, and it can't be used to inflict wounds. So this is kind of how you would invoke like kind of cantrip level magic. Not like 5e cantrip level magic, but just like magic that is utilitarian in nature. I want to be able to travel quickly or quietly, or I want to have the person forget to lock their door. That kind of folk magic. Fertility magic. Like that kind of folk magic. Arcane Magick, on the other hand, is awesome. This system is incredible. You draw a card, and I think you draw 2 cards. One from the player deck and one from the major arcana, which actually it's just literally from the tarot. It's like a minor arcana and a major arcana. And you get the words, and you use the words to sort out the thing. So if you get like defeat water, that could mean that you could dry up water. That could mean that you could overcome a river. Like, you interpret it to apply whatever, and then you do an opposed wands test or a regular wands test, depending, and you're spending resolve. Pretty cool. Now comes the rest of the book. This is all largely generation stuff. So this talks about how to generate wilderness maps, dungeon maps, and settlement maps. It's just giving you some pretty simple tables of entries. You can lay out the cards and go, oh, that's a library, that's a stable, and that's the pleasure den. Right, that's what's in town. This is pretty convenient and actually reminds me a lot of Quest Crawl, in that you can just take a deck of cards, kind of throw some cards down, and get yourself a wilderness area or a dungeon area without any prep, really. Right, you could just play with a deck of cards. This makes it pretty approachable for solo, actually. And then you got your events deck. So this is, again, fairly similar. So this is going to be the GM deck. And depending on the environment, you just pull on this and you will get a different event. They're not super detailed, but I think they're evocative enough to kind of get you going. I would recommend this RPG, honestly, for like a relatively experienced GM coming from another system who wants to use a tarot deck, wants to have a good time, and doesn't want to be beat over the head with a 500-pound book, and need to read it too. Like, I think this does a lot of work in the few words that it's giving that. Monsters. So these are the rules for monsters, how morale tests work, the anatomy of a stat block. I love it. It's well organized. And then you got your bestiary. Monsters don't have the 4 different stats. They just have a stat. So the simpler they are, the better. But some things have crazy stats, like stat 8. That means you add an 8 to every card they draw. That's crazy. That's a very effective creature. Dragon. It's got a 10. Pretty crazy. I think the upshot to this is that it makes these pretty easy to create. It makes them largely pretty easy to adjudicate at the table, and you're not doing a bunch of crazy work like, lesser and greater dooms and stuff. The downside to this is the talents are basically like summon murder. You get to figure out what that means. Now, of course, in the case of a scarecrow, it's summoning a murder of crows. But like induce sleep, charm, evade, and disappear, you have to adjudicate how those work and what they mean. And that's on you. That's the GM's job. So it isn't going to do that work for you. You are going to have to, kind of adjudicate that. And that is, that is the downside to having something so terse. Time and downtime. So the different time types, you have rounds that go in 10 seconds, turns that are 15 minutes, and watches are 8 hours. There are 3 watches in a day. And then, you may fulfill a goal during downtime. So if that's what you're doing, you can do that. Downtime is stuff that you do in between sessions, basically. And then you get some carousing, which is awesome. You can carouse as a downtime. Love it. Hirelings, there's some rules for hirelings. Folks you meet on the road. This is a really nice little way of generating some random NPCs. You've got an oracle for if you want to play solo, which is awesome. And then action subject. So these oracles contain words inspired by the meanings of the tarot cards. So you can use the tarot cards to generate kind of spark words, basically. Then you get some magic items. Boy howdy, this is nice to have. If you're making a game that has magic items in it, you should make some magic items and put them in there, as it's really handy. These are great too. They're pretty straightforward, and the way that he has keyed them off of the cards here is awesome, right? Your magic items, enchanted and legendary weapons, draw using the sword suit. So it's keyed to the suit. Moralta, great fierce one, a god-forged sword that always hits its mark. When an attack with this sword misses, the wielder may spend resolve to hit instead. So again, there's that using resolve to kind of trigger the magic item. Silence, a mythical shield that completely protects its wearers from all gaze and sound-based attacks, roars, shrieks, petrifying gazes, etc. Then you get your, mystical containers, bags, and vessels. Draw using the cup suit. Maybe you find your red gourd, a dried hollow gourd the size of a closed fist. Its owner may spend resolve to activate it. It shrinks one target creature down to miniature size and traps them inside. The owner may break the gourd to release the creature inside, who returns to their normal size. Arcane musical instruments is, of course, from your wands here, and you can get all kinds of different musical instruments. And they are just as evocative and fun, but also really punchy, really light. Very nice. I like it. Sam Helm, you made a cool game, bro. Thanks. If you like these videos, I hope you'll hit the like button. If you would like to be notified when new ones come out, you should hit the subscribe button and do the bell icon. If you want to get early access to these videos, you can go over to my Patreon at patreon.com/watcherdm and join for like a couple of bucks. You'll get all my videos a week early, and you'll also get daily posts from me with my drawings and my writing. And you get early access to any of the stuff we make, basically. So I just recently made a adventure for Gloam, for the first Gloam adventure, one-page adventure jam. It's called Stygian Wield. And I hope you will get Gloam, and I hope you will check out Stygian Wield. It's free. I'll put a link down in the description, and you should play Gloam. Thanks. See you next time.